Welcome to the Rebel Love Show. We are a once-a-week broadcast from Manchester, New Hampshire, where we are pro-pot, pro-gun, and pro-coffee. We are syndicated on Voluntary Virtues, and we are also on YouTube. You can find us on Stitcher. You can also find us on iTunes, and go like us on Facebook. I am Rob Mathias.
And I'm Shire Dude.
And today we have two great guests. We have Brett Vinot of School Sucks podcast and the new face of the Free State Project, none other than Allie Havens.
Hey, guys.
How's it going?
Doing pretty good.
All right. If you didn't notice, I just took that off. I couldn't take it.
The delay, yeah.
Delay. It was like an echo chamber in my mind. I just couldn't take myself talking that much and hearing myself.
Well, you made it almost half a minute.
Yeah.
What?
You made it almost half a minute.
I know I did make it almost half a minute, but I couldn't take it any much longer. But anyways, first off, I just want to say that we've coming up right this weekend. We got Shire Sharing. There's a big charity event going on, a volunteerist charity, where a bunch of people in the community are going to get together. We're going to pack a bunch of baskets to feed the homeless and then deliver that on Sunday. I know myself, I don't know if are you going to be there?
Sunday, I'm not sure. I'm like a maybe for all those.
Okay, well, I'm going to be there filming, so
that's excellent.
Yeah, I think I should film at least some of that or most of it. I want to film from like packaging all the way to like delivery of a
as someone who had to, like, in one of my recent productions, it's like this too, the episode I did with Amanda Bolden, I had to use like footage that's been recycled over and over and over again, so that's really good that you're doing that.
I'm gonna film a bunch of stuff, have a bunch videos on my Raw channel.
Cool.
But anyways, so 101 came out. And that was amazing, hence the new face of the Free State Project.
That was an exciting project to work on, because when Bo and Vince, who were kind of producing it all together, messaged me to ask me to be the host of it, I was like, if you guys don't know about Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree, anyone who hasn't seen that should see it, because you can watch it for free online. And Bo I knew that he edited that, and all of his editing has always been really good. So, if you're a good editor, then I'll, do free work for you.
I was waiting in anticipation for 101 because both me and Shire Dude here, we both signed the intent to move after watching Victimless Crime Spree.
Oh, wow.
So
that's what did it, yeah.
Yeah, for me, like, it was the it was literally like, I'm a fan of his work. Like, I was like waiting. This is like the spiritual successor to Victimless Crime Spree.
You're a fan of Derek's work or Bo's work, or both?
Oh, both.
Yeah,
absolutely both. But I know what Bo is capable of in editing, so I was really looking forward to seeing this documentary. I was able to see it at the Quill with a whole bunch of people on the big screen and whatnot, and that was kind of like a full circle moment for me in the Free State Project, because like I watched his film and then I come full circle and I'm here watching his new work,
and then you're in it now.
Yeah.
You're in the work too.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was actually pretty amazing. So were you. You were like near in the beginning anyway.
5 times I counted.
So why did you guys, if that was what made you sign for the Free State Project, why did you come to Manchester instead of Keene?
Good question.
Oh,
that is a good question. You can go first on this one.
I was actually looking for like job transfers in both locations, because there are two where I work in Starbucks. There's 2 of those in Keene and Manchester, I believe, and Manchester's just the first one that picked me up. Also, I'm kind of more of a city person, so.
Yes, yeah.
For me, like, also city. I mean, I came from south side of Chicago, so going to Keene would be like, literally living on a farm in perspective. Manchester to me feels like a small town. It's a tiny town in my
Oh, absolutely. With a pretty mediocre skyline compared.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It's the biggest place I've ever lived, but that's
really
compares experience. Yeah. I mean, Keene, I've only lived in 3 places. Keene was half the size of my hometown, and then Manchester is much bigger than either one. It went from 40,000 to 20,000 people in Keene, and then Manchester has how many? Hundreds of thousands?
I think 100.
Yeah, it's around 100,000 people in Manchester. Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in I lived in Cook County, which had 8 million people, and I moved to Manchester that has 100,000 people in the city.
That's where Dr. Richard Kimball worked.
What in
Cook County Hospital.
Oh,
Dr. Richard Kimball? No?
Nothing.
no.
The Fugitive?
Oh, The Fugitive. Harrison Ford. Yeah.
Oh. Cook
You've
County's
never-
a big place. You do realize that too.
I'm sure it's huge. You've never seen The Fugitive?
I have seen The Fugitive a long time ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you watched it, were you like, I know that place and that place?
See, I'm actually from Calumet City, Illinois. So my big thing was the Blues Brothers growing up. So that was because they were from Calumet City. So that was my big huge movie that everyone loved when I was a kid. It was watching the Blues Brothers. But anywho, movies about Illinois. But no, I moved to Manch. I moved to Manch because really was inspired by a lot of Liberty media, but it seemed like most of it was coming out of Keene. And I knew just by doing all my research and stuff like that, that Manch was really kind of the hub of the FSP, because there's what is it, close to 500 people or more that live in the surrounding area of Manchester.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I really felt like my talents could be better suited here than they would be in Keene, because I figured they got Keene covered. Keene, Ian, Loren, everyone there, they got Keene.
Keene's saturated.
It's
in the Liberty.
saturated. There wasn't enough coming out of Manchester, so I figured I'll
It's
help.
super saturated, if anything. Where you heat it up and add more sugar. That's what's happened to Keene. They really heated that shit up.
They heated the hell out of it. Yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
I remember when I lived in Keene and we would go to events in Manchester, or maybe Manchester people would come to Keene, I would be like, there's this whole other part of the Free State Project, and I can't remember anyone's names. I know I should know these people, and so I felt like separated from the majority of what's going on in New Hampshire, because Keene is all by itself. There's nothing in between anywhere in Manchester and in New Hampshire and Keene that you'd want to go to except for Keene that I can think of. So it's just a lot of driving through nowhere.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
See, for me though, I do try to visit Keene as much as I can, and sometimes the coast and the lakes region and whatnot. I'm probably in Keene once every 5 or 6 weeks or whatnot, because in all honesty, I don't want to be just Manchester centric.
Yeah.
I like to go to meetups elsewhere and meet everyone in the project, and just not in the project, just locals as well, and just get out and not just stay in one spot. And besides, New Hampshire's small. Everything's an hour's drive away, so it's not like Keene's 5-hour drive.
No, it's an hour 45.
Hour 45.
That's how long that's how long I leave myself to make it out there.
Hour 15 at the most.
No way.
Yeah.
What do you do?
From here I just take the 101, and it's an
That's
hour
what I
and
do.
15
You
minute
take
drive.
the 101
Yeah.
and do it in an hour and 15, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. Was that a do you guys have drops, or did I just hear a bird?
No, that was my phone. I did not have it on silent. So
Oh,
that
okay.
is a
So I was-
podcasting, I had it on, so waiting for you to message me when you were at the door, and I forgot to.
My first two guesses were wrong.
It's a bird. It's a plane.
But yeah.
Speaking of drops, I don't know why more shows don't do that. I think if
Drops?
I ever have another show, I'm going to include drops.
They're lots of fun, yeah.
Yeah.
I know Conan does that really good on Black Sheep Rising. He does drops a lot. That's a lot of prep work though to do drops for a podcast. You have to hit it just right. You have to have it all queued up, and
You have to be kind of magical about it.
yeah, that's unless you had a producer sitting there just waiting to do a drop. If you're talking and running a show and doing the drops, that's like being a singer and playing guitar at the same time. You've got multiple things going on all at once.
And can you imagine once you've trained your brain to think of appropriate drops to input into conversations, how that would last after the show? And you'd be hearing drops all day in your conversations.
man,
And you'd
yeah.
want to say them, but you can't because that's just weird.
I think I talk in drops sometimes. I think, yeah, no matter how socially unacceptable, I do that.
Can you think of an example?
When you break out in a song, when somebody says a phrase from a song,
Yeah.
that's a drop, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Do you have a playlist that you will hit, or could it be any song?
Yeah, I won't know till I get there. I couldn't list them for you right now, but if you said that one thing, I don't know. I'll have to pay attention to the rest of the show to see if I can do it.
Yeah, and I'll be testing you.
Awesome. So stay tuned, people.
Well, why don't you just start doing that? Like, why don't you just get like a, didn't they have like I remember as kids they had those like, what was it, a Yammer or something like that, where you can record like
the Yak Back.
Yeah, is that,
I love the Yak Back.
That's like the equivalent of doing drops in
What
person.
is it? I don't know what
You
this
just
is.
record yourself into a little like handheld microphone thing that's about as big as a cell phone. It's a little more clunky.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
And then you could play it back at people. And like
Wow.
you just had that one recording that you played back at people.
I remember the little keychain songs that you could get in your Happy Meals at McDonald's and like clip them into something and play the song. But the sound's similar. Is it like that?
I think they had like Yak Backs at McDonald's at one
Okay.
point. Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
little ones.
Yeah. Anyways, so I had a question for both of you guys while you're here or whatnot, because here's the kind of I want to change subjects because we already talked about 101, which is a great film. I'm absolutely in love with that film.
101 or 101reasonsfilm.com
Yeah.
for you watching.
So go watch that, kids. But okay. One thing that I've noticed about this community is there's things you avoid to do, and I would be honest, probably everyone at this table has not avoided doing that. And that's dating in the community. All right. Now you guys have a perspective. Now each one of us at this table is dating someone in the community.
Two people at this table are dating each other.
Yes.
I know, that's why you bring
So,
you bring a
It's pretty
interesting.
incestuous.
It is incestuous. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Now I waited a long time to actually date in the community. I was purposely dating outside of the community when I moved here.
I've heard of people doing that.
Yeah, I did it
Yeah.
for a long time.
Makes sense. I remember coming here being like, I'm never gonna just be someone who goes from person to person in the community. It's like, and then, yeah, I mean, I just think it's silly because that was part of the reason I wanted to come here is because libertarian and dude, something about it just seems so hot to me. So
Well, you
Yes. At the
Your-
time
your
when I lived in
mar-
Alabama. Well, it's
in
not
that
true. The music
situation, you
institute's
have
there.
a lot more market strength in that regard. Yeah,
mean
you
'cause
have
there's
more
less
market
women?
value.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely. But for me, I've seen like a lot of drama that has unfolded in front of my eyes when I got here with couples, and seeing like past drama be come back up and whatnot.
Yeah, look at Mark and Ian.
Yeah.
But eventually I introduced someone to the community and then I dated someone else in the community. So I've gone complete opposite of what I tried not to do. I did it because I thought it was worth the risk. But why does everyone
What is
else,
it that you feel like you're risking?
I feel like there's such a huge risk in it because I don't want there to be drama in my life everywhere I go.
Yeah.
Because
Because everyone's going to know the
everyone
person
knows.
you're with.
Everyone talks.
It's
everyone
small.
knows.
Yeah, it's a small community. I mean, Manchester's a small town, and you're gonna see that person everywhere. After,
Yeah, every other meetup.
It's kind
you
of
go
like we're
to or
still in high
whatnot.
school to
Sort-
some level. Because
It's
if you guys are used to living in cities and you date I don't know what it's like to date around in a city. Do you just date strangers? Like, is it like you really don't know the people you see, and then you get what you want out of the date, or you don't, and then you never see the person again, or you do see the person again, but it doesn't really matter either way because you can just choose if you never want to see them again, basically.
I have almost no experience with that. Like
Me neither.
college, that was you date people who go to the college. Now it's interesting because I went to a small college, like less than 2,000 people. So everybody's there as a celebrity. And I did some spectacularly stupid things while I was in college and everybody knew about it right away. So I think this wasn't that new to me, this idea of being in a fairly, insular situation like this. But yeah, I mean, there are risks with what you're saying. I can see why people would be apprehensive about just jumping right into dating here.
What about you, Shire Dude? Why are you making the risk?
Why am I taking the risk? Because
Why are you taking it?
I only lasted like 6 months before I started dating someone. Yeah, I'm more of a just kind of like seize the day mentality. Like, I actually, it's interesting because all of my exes from the past, I didn't talk to. I don't think I really kept a single one as a friend.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's a little unsettling, right? Because then I don't want that to happen to someone in this community specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a huge risk to have an ex in the community.
Yeah, I
Especially
definitely
if you run into them a lot.
like I've kind of picked up the I don't know what you'd call it, but I don't want to burn any bridges in this community because it's too small, and even if someone like really ticks me off, and it could be dating, could be something else, I'd want to keep the lines of like communication open, and I wouldn't want to like try to like shun or ostracize anyone.
Yeah, I had a policy kind of like the police have, like what do the police say? Be nice to everybody, even though they're not. This is just something they say. But polite to nobody. But that's not, I mean, I don't really, my difference is like, be friendly, but don't, I had an attitude when I got here, like to Manchester. I came here in 2010, that everybody needed to be kept at just about arm's length, and like I saw a lot of what you're talking about, Rob, like people getting too close together too fast, not realizing that just because they came here and they have similar interests or similar beliefs, that it's not instantaneous friendships. And then these problems develop, and then but people have gotten so close to each other, and then they have other friends and they're pulled into whatever the conflict is, and it gets very messy. So I said, okay, well, I want to avoid all that. And it was just, I think that went on for a while, and then as time went on, people just started to get closer. Like it felt safe to let some people get closer than that. But it didn't, I mean, I knew just from like my prior experience in smaller closed communities that just because of proximity or even similar interests, it wasn't going to be instantaneous magical friendships. So it took years, I think, to really find a core of friends. And I mean, even though I knew right away it wasn't going to be everybody. Turned out to be very few people.
Yeah, I've gone through different like friends since I've gotten here, because you kind of like for me, as soon as I got here, I try to be a social butterfly, like meet as many people as I can. And to be honest, I still do that. I still go to as many meetups when I see people I haven't met before yet.
It's so easy to be one here too, with all the meetups and things that happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm already building my core group of like networking of friends that I go out with and whatnot. But it took a while. I mean, I've only been here 10 months, but it's starting to build where I have like that more core group of people compared to what it was before when I first got here. Because when I first got here, like I don't know anyone really. I mean, I know people online before I moved here, but I didn't really know people. But I definitely kind of feel like I'm getting to that point where I've built that core like network of people to like that are friends that I see on a weekly, daily basis now.
Yeah, I think that's really important. That's like real security, is having intimate relationships with like a good group of friends. Are they all friends with each other too? Or is it like, no, these are just like random people who don't even necessarily know each other?
For the most part, they all know each other. They're all friends. Everyone hangs out from,
That's the best.
Yeah, that is the best. It really, really is. Especially in how I'm living my life. That's actually works out for the best by a long shot. I used to actually keep, like how I said before, like dated outside the community. Like I kept it, not just outside the community. Like I kept them completely out. Like
out of the state,
out of town.
Out of town. I was dating a woman from down in Mass. So it was like completely
online only.
She was like a whole separate. Like I compartmentalized. Like, all right, you're this part of my life a couple days a week, way over here, and that is it. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not even.
She's just a toll-free number that you call every now and then.
Sometimes you gotta keep them in their place.
No, she was amazing at the time.
Okay.
But like, at the end of the day, that was kind of the wrong way to go about it, because we kind of hold up. I talk about how like the risk of dating in the community, which is a risk, but at the same time, like I moved here to live my life. I'm going to be around people. If I'm not gonna hide who I am out in the real, the world around us, why am I gonna hide who I am around the people I moved here for?
Yeah.
Sure.
And I kind of came to that realization like I would say in July. So I've been here since January. It took like almost 6 months, but I finally came to that realization that I'm not going to do that anymore. But I always find it interesting when other people in the community like start dating other people in the community, because I always feel like there's definitely a risk involved in doing it.
I can see that. I think it's weird that when people date each other, they share all their secrets and then they break up on bad terms. That just seems, and then they never want to see each other again, or they even like hate each other kind of. And I could see that maybe if it's like, well, we got together and then things changed, or, you know, I don't know, circumstances changed or something, you know, but, or maybe something came up that challenged them and then they realized they weren't really right for each other. But I don't understand like this, once finding this person valuable enough to like want to kind of spend all your time with them and like share your most intimate stuff with them, and then to like reject them completely. It just seems like, I don't know.
Perhaps it's a defense mechanism.
Maybe. I've never really related to that. Like, I've always just been like, well, I loved you when we were in the relationship. Why would I just stop loving you just because I don't want to continue the relationship?
No, absolutely. Like, for me, I'm not going to, like, I have exes here now, and in all honesty, like, I'm not going to, like, I don't stop caring for, like, the people that I was with. Like, I'm no longer, like, you know, I don't want to be intimate with them. I don't have that, like, feeling of love for them, like, as if I'm with, you know, I'm their, you know, partner, I'm their couple, I'm with them. But doesn't mean I don't stop caring for them. You know, like, I want them to be happy.
I think that would be kind of weird.
If I see them, I'll give them a hug.
If you could honestly say, like, oh, you know, oh, that person I was in love with before, well, we broke up, so now I don't give a shit about them. It's like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I have tried to, I wouldn't say maintain friendships, but be on good terms with everyone that I had been in a relationship with, you know, prior to this. Now, I do have one ex who is part of the community. We are not on good terms, but I don't run into her all the time. And she has been very respectful of, you know, my privacy, what our privacy was. So it's not like we're all like, you know, every morning walking out of our dorm rooms and facing each other, you know. Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, like, I haven't seen this person in 5 or 6 months, and they live in the same town. And even though, you know, the ending of the relationship was not ideal, and I accept more than 50% of the responsibility for what happened, it hasn't produced a lot of drama that I know about anyway. And I think this is somebody who is, you know, respectful and discreet and mature. And, you know, a lot of people here are, and certainly anyone I would want to be involved with. So I can see the danger, but even though I'm kind of like, in some ways, the cautionary tale, it hasn't really been that bad.
Well, I mean, usually the risk is because, you know, people go to the same meetups and the same events.
Sure.
You know, like, normally, like, before you moved, like, when you broke up, usually that breakup caused, like, they went with their friends, you went with your friends, and you really never saw them all that often, if ever again, unless it was a huge party or something like that. Here, everyone kind of, you know, it's still to the point where, like, yeah, you can get along, you can get out and where you're not seeing each other people, like other people in the community, but there's still major events you go to, or even if you're in the same city, you might go to the same meetup from time to time and run into those people again.
This is why we need to trigger the move.
Yeah.
Yeah, trigger the move so there's no more drama in dating.
You can just date as many people as you want, and like you don't have a huge chance of seeing them because there's so many of us.
Yeah.
Right. It's like risk. Madison Square Garden everywhere you go.
Well, that's why I think people should try to resolve their differences if it's like causing uncomfortable feelings about going to events and stuff like that. You don't want that. Just best to resolve it. But it made me think about like a friend from that I met through the Free State Project, that we were really close, and then I say that we broke up because it was like super dramatic the way like a breakup would happen. And you know, sometimes you like try to resolve things with people and they just like won't have it. They're like, no, I'm gonna be mad at you forever, or like it doesn't matter if you want to make nice. I'm not interested. I don't know if that kind of thing just comes in time, but what do you do then? It's just kind of like, okay, so it's just gonna continue to be weird forever.
Yeah, I've had situations not with exes, but like just with friends that like there's a fallout here. And
I mean, making friends is risky for that reason too.
It is, yeah, because it's just this kind of same thing where like had a grudge held against me for the longest time, and now it's kind of over. Thank God. But yeah, that's a risk. But sometimes there's definitely a bigger risk because because it is kind of incestuous. Like sometimes you sit across the table and like, okay, this person had sex with that person, da da da, and you kind of like picture it in your mind, and that's one thing that sometimes kind of throws me for a loop a little bit when you notice that like when you're going to
looking at your Eskimo family tree.
Right. Yeah. And I've had sex with almost no one here. So there's that, and I think that even if there was just more of that kind of casual stuff going on, that I never, this is just me, this is just my perspective, but I didn't see how that could work for me. Like I guess some people handle that fine, and good for them. It just wasn't something that I was comfortable with. It wasn't something that I felt like I would be able to do. And I'm kind of like, I think I'm older than a lot of people who are here too. Like, I don't know how old you guys are, but I'm 37.
Talking about casual sex?
More casual, that I was just kind of over that by the time I got here. I'd had enough.
I had no idea you were 37.
Thank you. Well, wait, you didn't think I was like 60?
Well, you know what? Everything I've ever, no, every time I've ever seen a picture, like first off, I only met both of you guys. Like my path didn't really cross with you guys until like a week ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, which I find kind of surprising. I don't know. Usually
what's weird is I was like, oh, it was one of those instances where I was like, for some reason, when I saw him in person, I think I've seen you in person like lots of times. And not known that you were the Facebook you. It was just
I have my photo up.
I know. That's the weird thing is that I'm always complaining about people not having their actual photo on Facebook because I can't tell them apart. And you did, and I still couldn't, like, for some reason, make the connection in my mind.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine is when people don't use their face on Facebook. Listen, to be honest, I use Facebook as, like, my whole dossier of the Free State Project and whatnot, and when someone doesn't have their photo on there and they have like Porcupine or like
I won't friend
an
them.
Edward Snowden or whatever, I don't know, and I'm like, come on, if I go to like a meetup, all right, and they introduce themselves, like I don't know who they are, like I see I might be friends with them on Facebook, but I don't know. I want to see who you are.
Right. I want your profile picture to be a headshot, and I want your cover photo to be like a full body. You lying sideways. I want not only to know what your face looks like, I want to have how tall are you, what body type do you have, so when I see you in person for the first time, make no mistake, I know who you are.
Yeah. But no, we did. I know I've seen you guys a couple times around. Like I know at Convention.
We did. Yes, that's right.
I didn't get a chance to come up and talk to you guys or whatnot.
Did you know who we were?
I know who both of you were before I moved.
How about that, Allie?
I mean, I feel special.
I used to listen to Allie on Free Talk Live.
Me too.
What?
Yeah, and I've heard Brett's stuff before too. But I
Cool.
actually had never seen Brett until I got here.
Yeah.
So wait, why were we talking about my age?
This is like a full circle thing because I know you guys didn't like just move, but when I just moved and I was talking to people who I'd been listening to, I remember feeling strange about it. I remember saying hello to someone who I considered a celebritarian and being like, hi, we're in this position where, like, I know who you are, you don't know who I am, but, like, I'm a fan. And the way the person responded was just, like, made me feel so down about having made any kind of deal about meeting them.
What'd they do?
They're just kind of like...
Who was it?
I don't want to say.
Come on, just go ahead and say. Who was it?
I won't go there. Just because I don't think it was, like... I will say it was a girl, and I don't think she was realizing... Maybe I was being unclear. Like, maybe I was trying to play it down, but really excited. And so her response mattered more to me than I was showing. I don't know. But it was at Pork Fest. And she was just kind of like, oh, hey, cool. And then left, like.
That sounds like
as if she didn't. No, it wasn't. No. I can say it wasn't her. It wasn't anyone who lives here.
Okay. All right. So how long did you pay attention to the FSP before you moved? Because obviously, if you were fans of people here, you had to have been paying attention for like, quite a long time.
A little over a year. I was like, I'm moving. I listen to Free Talk Live every day.
And what else? Just Free Talk Live? Did you listen to anything else or watch anything?
I listened to Pork Therapy, Free Talk Live, Free Domain Radio. Those were the main ones. And sometimes I would listen to... what was what was Dale's show called back
Flaming
in the day?
Freedom?
Flaming Freedom.
It was
Prometheus
even-
Rising.
Prometheus Rising. I used to listen to that sometimes. And I would listen to like Sex, Lies, and Anarchy sometimes because I think it was still on LRN then. I would catch it sometimes.
Okay.
So I started back like all the way in 2006. I found Free Talk Live, and it was Mark and Ian and Gardner. Gardner Goldsmith was a regular at the time. And I thought it was like the most stimulating conversation that I had ever heard in my life, you know? And I was from New Hampshire. I grew up on the seacoast. And at the time I was living in like the metro Boston area. So I'm seeing a lot of what freedom doesn't look like, you know, and I was commuting, I was on the commuter rail all the time or driving, and I was, you know, consuming Free Talk Live like archives, like going back and, you know, listening to them be right about things from like months before. And I was like, wow, these guys are geniuses and this is amazing. And from there I found like Complete Liberty, and then Wes turned me on to Free Domain Radio. And I moved back to New Hampshire in 2007, actually, and didn't even get involved with the Free State Project until 2010. After I started the show, I got a message from Ofer, who lived out by me. I lived like in Newmarket, out by UNH, and he lived in Dover. And he said, "Hey, I'm a town over from you, and I love your show. Do you want me to make you a website?" So we like started hanging out and watching TV shows, and I was living with my girlfriend at the time, and we broke up, and Ofer and I moved in together, and we set up like an office, and we watched more TV shows, and I'm like, wow, what a nerd, Babylon 5, and, you know, all this, but I was hooked, you know? And from there, he went on to build the hangout place that we're all familiar with. Can we talk about that like publicly?
Nothing's off the table in
Okay.
regards to Quill
So-
or CAC or
Yeah, I
whatever.
wasn't sure about that
already,
anymore.
No, I don't. I don't care. That's when Will goes to convention and is talking about it on a panel, and when the manager at the time is the keynote speaker last year, JJ. Like, I think the secret's out of the bag, in my opinion. So
Sure.
I mean, when they're like the owner and management of at the time is going on YouTube talking about it.
Sure, great.
Yeah, I used to think that was like I shouldn't talk about it for a while, but
I
then
think-
I'm like, fuck it.
Well,
Yeah.
you want to be cool. You don't want to be like uncool or like somehow jeopardizing people or something. But that used to scare me about. I know the Quill used to kind of freak me out because it's like I'm not supposed to even. Am I even supposed to know about it? Like, was it like telling me about it? Was that like someone breaching some level of trust? And then going to the KAC, it was like my first day in Keene. Someone invited me, and then I felt like there was some kind of discussion, like, "Hey, man, you can't just do that." It's like, it's cool, man. She just got here. She's cool. I had my sister with me, and I think they're like, "How do we know she's not a Fed?" Like, I don't know if they were actually having this conversation, but I sensed something like that going on. I made it in there. I guess I checked out, but.
I remember the Quill being similar to that when it started, but yeah. So Ofer and I lived together when him and William started setting it up, and Ofer had helped like everybody for so long, like never asked any, like, here, I'll make you this, I'll make you that, and I was really actually happy when I saw him start, doing his own thing that he was really excited about, and from there, like, he was the only person I really knew. I knew nobody in Manchester. We lived in a building that, a Free Stater politician owned, and he lived downstairs, and a couple other Free Staters lived upstairs, but I really didn't know anybody. So when that place opened, that was pretty much how I started to meet everybody, through hanging out there, like 4 years ago. And then one of my best friends, Osborne, I had met him because he wrote to me about liking the show. And then he moved here, and we kind of started to develop our own, close-knit group outside of Manchester. So, so I was here by 2007, but it wasn't until 2010 that I started getting involved. So I lurked for a long time, and it was really like Free Talk Live, and that was the only thing that was going on here that I was really in tune with. Maybe the Ridley Report a little bit now and then.
Oh yeah, Dave Ridley.
Oh, Dave Ridley rocked. Though he doesn't really make much videos anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Some of his
with
videos, he's just opining on foreign affairs, and I don't really listen to those. But when he opines on things relevant to the Free State Project, then it's always interesting. Very insider.
Oh, I watched Dave Ridley for like a year and a half, like religiously, that and Free Talk Live. I pretty much listened to almost every podcast that was listed on LRN.FM.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was listening to all of that, and hell, I was even watching like raw videos of like Robin Hooding and shit like that. You know, I mean, like which was really crazy because like, I remember going to Keene and like walking the square. I'm like, I've seen this through Garrett Ian's camera so much, you know. And it was like, wow, I'm actually walking here for something that I watched on the internet for so long.
So
you know?
surreal.
The gazebo looks a lot smaller.
Yeah, it is small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember seeing 420 rallies there and whatnot, and it just doesn't look the same as it does in person. It looks more epic on camera than it does in person.
Mm.
Maybe that's why it's the Liberty Media capital of the world, because it's so like photogenic, that town.
Oh, it definitely is a photogenic town. That's
It looks way better
very,
on
very
camera than
true.
what it actually is.
Yeah, yeah. Though I'm like, what's crazy is it's heartwarming. But it's interesting that you said that how you had like, you know, you were a fan or hero or whatnot, which I actually kind of think I might know who it is. But it's interesting because like, again, I knew who both of you were before I moved here. I knew a lot of people before I moved here, you know, and I tried to hide that really well before I even came here, you know, especially like when I got here, like, you know, like, like, hey, how's it going? Like, I know, you know, but
some people don't. Like, some people move here and it's like they move here with a loved one, maybe. Like, they weren't really listening to anything. They really don't know who you are. So, or they don't even know who, like, you know, Mark are or anyone, you know. It's kind of surprising sometimes. But you never know if someone is into the same kind of media that you've been into.
Yeah. Well, what was crazy is I had like a really, again, I've listened to Free Talk Live for like 2 years before I moved. And I had a very surreal first 24 hours living here. My first 24 hours living here, I landed in Manchester around like 4 o'clock. I took an Agris taxi cab from my apartment that I was renting to Area 23, where they picked up an extra passenger, which happened to be Rich Paul. So he was literally the second Free Stater I met here in an Agris cab to Area 23, where I met a bunch of other people I already kind of recognized and whatnot. Then I go to the Quill after that and meet other people that I recognize. And then the next morning, I take that same Agris cab to Keene, to the CAC, and I buy a car in Bitcoin, and then I'm like being interviewed in LRN studio and
like
stuff like that.
It's like a dream or something.
It was really surreal, considering like, you know, I've been watching all this going on, and I was like, now I'm living in it. And to be honest, I've been living this since I got off that plane, and it's coming up to almost a year now, and I haven't stopped. Like, I literally have not stopped moving. Like, we're in my apartment right now. I don't even have a TV in here. You know what I'm saying? Because like, besides doing this, I'm always out. I'm always doing something. I'm always going somewhere. You know.
That's a good thing. You don't want to be like someone who like apparently there are people who move for the Free State Project. I guess they fucking buy a house and they just live there and like don't tell anyone that they don't make any announcement. They're not, hey, we're coming. They're like, we're just waiting until we have as much liberty, and then I guess we'll come out. I don't know.
Here's a question for you: how many people have you met at like a new movers party or a meetup that you never saw again?
I feel like that happens a lot, but not just at the parties, but just meeting people and then they're gone. Never meet.
Yeah, they just disappear. No, you know, it's weird. Like, people come in and you'll see them for like a week or two or something like that at different events. Or different meetups or somewhere along the line, like, you know, oh yeah, I just moved to Manchester, and then I never see them again.
I come and go, you know, like I've been very connected at times, and then just kind of retreat into my own world for a year.
You said never see again, though.
Oh, people will see. You'll see me again.
I've only been here 10 months, so I mean, though it does feel like, I don't know if you guys would agree to this, but to me, sometimes living here a week can feel like a month. Like, time-wise. Like, I feel like I've been here for years. I don't feel like I've been here just 10 months. I feel like I've been here like 3 or 4, well, at least 2 or 3 years. Like,
there are people I've known who lived here for a while, and then they like moved back or moved away. And that's always been sort of sad for me. Like, oh, you came here and then you left. I remember hearing about that before I moved and being like, why? How could they? Like, how? You know, if you got there, then how could you ever leave? I just imagine it doesn't matter. You know, there's no job market or like the food's way more expensive. I don't know what other or like it's too cold, but all the libertarians are there. That just sounds awesome.
Well, wait a minute.
Well, I'm just saying, you know, after a while, maybe it starts to lose its appeal because after you know everyone, you've made these connections. But if you get here and then you move right away,
Well, there's always
Right away. Like, because we've
he
actually
says, wait
talked.
a minute, because we're thinking about going to Mexico,
Yeah,
Whoa.
Oh,
but not for like a while.
yeah.
Okay.
Can I ask what's the appeal there?
Lots of appeals. You can start with your appeals.
Well, first of all, my sister and her lover both live there. His name's Mike. Did you guys meet them? Or no, I guess neither of you would have met them.
No.
They do come to Pork Fests, and they live in Mexico. So we were thinking about moving to the island of Cozumel, which is where they live. And then also, I mean, Brett makes his money online, so if I could get a job online, then that would mean that we both have income coming in, and then everything's cheaper, so it goes a lot further. And
Well,
it's really warm all year.
Why don't you just get a summer home? I mean, a winter home down there, and then come up here for the summer. Have the best of both worlds.
There might be. Well, then we should get
That
out of here.
feels-
Let's.
Yeah, I
The
know.
winter's
Let's try to get
here,
out of here in the
it's
next week.
already starting to freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's something like we're in the
That's
initial
that's
stages.
my dream life, is living in Mexico in the winter and then coming back to New Hampshire for the summer.
That actually wouldn't be bad because even like offsetting the cost of living here, like 3 months, you know, in Mexico, because I mean, I make the same amount of money comes in every week, or not every week, but every month. So if for 3 months I can be like a Mexican peso millionaire, that would actually help. I mean, depending on what the costs are of going back and forth and getting set up there, even 3 or 4 months down there might make a big difference. And if it doesn't, at least I'm living it up while I'm there. So I'm interested in the idea of expatriation. You know, like I see all the value in being here, but for me personally as an individual, you know, the way my life works, it might ultimately be better to be somewhere else.
I don't like the idea of being trapped in the U.S.
No, I definitely get that. I'm only here because of the FSP, to be perfectly honest. Like, I probably would have left the country by now if it wasn't for the FSP. I had a dream to, I really wanted to drive down to Belize and just, like, find a place to live and work down there.
What kind of drive would that be?
I have no idea. It's a very long drive, probably like a 2-day drive, if that.
I looked at Belize is what, just south of Mexico?
Yes.
3 days. I actually did the route to Cancun, which is about as close as you can get to Cozumel, and it was like almost 3 days to there. So Belize would probably be about 3 days.
That was some wrapping around, though.
Oh yeah. You mean just wrapping around
Peninsula. Wait, no. What's it called when the water comes in? The
A
cove?
Gulf.
coves and
Yeah.
gulfs, and
Gulf of Mexico. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, yeah.
they won't let you take your car there as the crow flies. You gotta follow the land.
Yeah, we don't have flying cars yet, unfortunately. You know, but no, I'm only here for the FSP. If this community didn't exist, I wouldn't be here. I don't plan to leave. For the most part, I wouldn't mind having a summer home down south of the border, though. If I could make enough money doing something, I would love to do that at some point. That'd be the real dream, because it does get cold up here. Not that I really don't mind the cold. I come from a cold climate as it is, so actually a colder climate than here.
Windy.
Windy. I came from Chicago, where it's very windy and cold, and
Yeah.
it gets a hell of a lot colder than it gets here.
The
Wow.
wind is the worst, like as far as cold goes. Like yesterday, it was so much windier, and it was way worse compared to today, even though I think the temperature wasn't much different. So yeah, the wind makes a big difference.
I got it. House swap. We need to find a family of Mexican skiing fanatics,
There you go.
right? We want them to be rich and have lots of children, and they won't mind living in like a 2-bedroom apartment where one room is a studio, for 3 months while they ski. That's what we need to find. It's out. They're out
Shouldn't
there.
be hard to find.
As long as they use that studio to make a reality show about them, because they just sound really like fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mexicans
It could be a
keep,
reality TV show, just the swap.
Yeah,
the
like
swap.
show
The
Free
us
State
in
Project
Mexico.
Swap House.
Yeah, it's a wife
Yeah.
swap, it's house swap. Yeah.
Yeah.
They must have a show. There must be a house swap show already.
Coming this fall.
I'm sure there probably is. Well, I don't know.
There must be. If somebody's thought of, what's the rule about porn? If somebody's thought of it, there's reality TV of it.
Yep.
Yeah,
now.
Pretty much. So you make your entire living off of School Sucks project?
I do.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It took a long time to.
Like, how many years did it take to get up to? Because you're like almost coming up on episode 400 or something, aren't you?
I've been doing the show a little more than 5 years, and I didn't even really try to monetize it until maybe 3 years ago. I started. People are always donating. Like, as soon as I put, like, I was like almost embarrassed to put a donation thing on the site when it was new. But then somebody's like, if you do it, I'll send you money. And it only takes 5 minutes. And I said, okay, well, it'd be foolish not to do that. And people started to send donations. And then I just started to look at the other models for podcasts that were monetized. And this was, back in 2011. People had like subscription programs, bonus content sections. So I set one up in 2012 and started promoting it, and built it up to like, it's like usually it's like around 250, 260 people who pay between like $6 and $25 a month. So depending on their income. And that's the only way the show has revenue. There's no advertising. We made $26 from an Amazon affiliates program last month, but
that's awesome.
yeah,
I need to set that up on our website. It's a Amazon affiliate program.
but for years I was doing the show for a couple years anyway, in addition to being an educator. I worked as a tutor, mainly the SAT tutoring. Like maybe 7 or 8 months before I started the show, I started a tutoring business, and we just did exclusively like SAT tutoring. So that's what I've done most of the life of the show. But I kind of learned my way out of enjoying that work, I guess I would say. Like, the more I learn about what I'm doing, the more I think about what I'm doing, the more I'm like, well, if I don't have to do that, like if I had to do it, like if the show just wasn't monetizable, then I would have to do that and it would be okay. It wasn't the worst job. But like, if I have a choice between doing that or doing this, I'd rather just spend the time doing this and getting people to pay me for it.
I think everyone's going to be mad if someone doesn't point out that it's not as if the only other way you could possibly have value is an SAT tutor.
Oh, sure. I mean, I could paint. I could
Really
sing.
setting the bar high for yourself. You could do lots of things.
Yeah.
Being good with kids and like being a good educator, and also like having sort of an unconventional view of what real education would appeal to tons of people.
Yes, hopefully more over time. But see, that was the really frustrating
And
thing
you can do
too.
it all online now too. I mean, people do online tutors from like different countries when there's a language barrier. So
Well, I made a pretty aggressive pitch to the people who were listening, like at the end of last year. And I said, for a long time, I worked in the world of fake education, right? Doing this tutoring, like get better grades, do good on the SAT so you can get into a college and get a worthless college diploma. And I said, that's fake education. And the market rate, my time was worth $40, $50, $60 an hour in that world, and now I think like this is real education. And suddenly my time is worth $9 an hour. And people understood that. And actually a lot of people supported the show because of that. So there is a market for that, but I'm really excited about seeing it grow, to see, more people thinking that work is valuable. Because I think it is. I think it was pretty much like, it's the perfect job for me. It's the perfect thing for me to do. I went to school for communications, like broadcasting and all that.
I had to teach all this. I had to teach myself. Like, I didn't go to school for any.
No, I had to teach all myself this too, because I was in college. I was a freshman in college in 1995. I graduated in the year 2000. We're studying, here's how you use a VHS camcorder, here's how you edit a news package, on an editing station that was the size of an entire room, and meanwhile, outside of the school, because I didn't go to a very good college because I wasn't a very good student. So they weren't really cutting edge. They weren't up to date with what was happening. So as we learned how to do things the way people did them in like the 70s and the 80s, all those industries were being revolutionized by technology outside of that. So when we graduated, it's like, oh yeah, I go to job interviews and be like, yeah, I know how to rub hot wax on paper and then paste it onto a template and have it printed. And like, we don't do that anymore. It's all done with computers. So I had a worthless degree. I had a degree in like mass media and communications history.
That did nothing for you.
That did nothing for me.
Except for start a podcast that you taught yourself how to do.
Well, yeah, and I was always like trying to find ways to use the interest, the principles of what I had learned, but I didn't have any skills, right? Like I didn't know how to do anything. When I was a senior in college, we had started to use Adobe PageMaker 1.1. Yeah. And that was like as technical as things got. Everything else was outdated. Everything else that I had learned was outdated by the time I graduated. So I had the interest, and I guess I had some basic principles, like here's how you edit a news package or something like that. And in all the education jobs, I found ways to use those things that I had wanted to do, and eventually it evolved into doing this. So it worked out, I think, or it's working out.
I would love to get to the point where, like, both like myself here and Shire Dude, we both accept Bitcoin, by the way, if you want to don't. Oh, well, I accept Bitcoin. He accepts Dogecoin. But I don't have that as like I would love to have that where I can just live off of donations, but I try to be as realistic as possible. If it ever happened, great. But I get enough to go buy a pint from like Murphy's. So I'm not getting like money to like where it's gonna like pay the rent here and pay for my car and pay for my cell phone bill and stuff like that, or buy food.
Mm-hmm.
Like I still gotta go work a normal, day job out in the matrix out there, and go amongst like the real world and make a living, and then come back here.
I mean, some people would say to keep the things that you love as hobbies, because then you don't want to be like corrupted or something.
That's
And it's interesting because I don't feel like Brett does. Like, I don't hear him being like, "Oh, I really have to compromise the content of the show today so I can, make my investors happy." I think never hear you saying stuff like that.
Does it feel like a job?
What she said is like a really good point, because like the show seemed more free, or the experience seemed more free when I wasn't counting on it to produce income for me, so maybe there's some truth to that. And I think what I wanted to do is have like multiple revenue streams. And I've even talked about starting another show that we could monetize very quickly with advertising, but I don't want to do advertising with School Sucks. But that's really, that's a really good point.
Tell them about your show.
I'm very curious of what their possible new show would be.
Oh, it was me.
Give them like your honest opinion.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Wait, is
just
it
like the pitch of the show?
all right?
Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's hear the elevator pitch.
You're thinking of the Kind of Healthy Guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought maybe I told you about another show as a joke.
No,
Some other
think of it.
So Osborne, do you guys know Osborne?
I know of him,
Heard of
but
him.
I've
Yeah.
not met him before.
So he and I just started doing a live show version of School Sucks like in 2012, and we like working together, and we're really good friends, and we have a lot of similar interests. And there's a lot of like health podcasts about like fitness and paleo and this stuff, but these people are they're kind of intimidating, right? Like there's this guy Dave Asprey. He's we were talking about Bulletproof Coffee.
I'm
He
well
was
aware.
he was the guy who came up with that.
J-Love. She loves that guy.
Yeah, so
They're
he
always ready to one up you.
Yeah, he's like, so this is Dave Asprey. He comes out. This is classic Dave Asprey, right? And just how inaccessible his world is to the rest of us. He claims to be the first guy who ever sold anything online, right? So he's very wealthy, has a lot of resources. So he comes out with his rose-tinted glasses, which protect him or regulate his circadian rhythms or something. His $200 glass, and he comes out to give a speech, and he goes, I try to, and I by the way, I'm trying to get him on my show, so this is, but I am going to make fun of him right now. He says to the crowd that's gathered to hear him speak at whatever this conference is, I try to only have one orgasm a month. Pause for, oh, well, what does he mean? From the crowd. And then, but I try to make sure it doesn't last longer than half an hour. right? So look how impressive I am. What am I even talking about? You're mystified by me. I'm on a whole other level than you, crowd. And I don't think this is like people would listen to this, and he like sells this vibrating mat that was invented by NASA for $2,000. He's like, yeah, you just need this. You know, you don't masturbate for a month, and then you lie on this NASA mat, and you know it's $6,000 or $7,000, and you know you're good. That kind of a thing. So this is inaccessible for most people. So we had this idea of being kind of healthy guys. Like Osborne and I both have health challenges, you know, not like serious illnesses, but we're not like perfectly fit. We're not, we don't have perfect eating habits. We vape, you know, what else? Caffeine.
You gotta have a
Yep.
vice. You can't be.
You go to all you can eat meat night.
You get all we can eat meat night, which might actually be okay, which might actually be considered healthy if
Yeah.
you don't, you know, eat
Yeah.
too much meat. But we said, what if we did like a show like this for ordinary guys who just want to like improve their life a little bit? Like show number 1, don't smoke cigarettes, smoke this. You know, show number 2, don't drink Diet Coke. It's really bad for you. You know, just like
Wait,
little things.
Doesn't Osborne love Diet Coke?
He does, and that would be like a debate, right?
Okay.
And but I used to be totally addicted to Diet Coke. I would drink like 5 a day, and I got off it. I don't drink it at all anymore.
3 years ago, I used to be 310 pounds, 40.
Really?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I used to drink like a 40 ounce of Mountain Dew or Pepsi like every day. I used to know the menus of every fast food restaurant that there was, and I was already liberated via the liberty movement, everything like that. I liberated my mind, so if I can liberate my mind, I can liberate my body. And within a year, I made that mental decision to like be healthy, and within 1 year I literally went from 310 all the way down to around 175, 180. And
How'd you do it?
I've kept this weight for 2 years now. So I've been at this weight for literally 2 years. I did now I pretty much pissed off both paleo and vegans in the same way. The first 6 months I did Atkins, so paleo for the most part.
Very
low carb diet.
Yeah.
And I lost about 70 pounds doing that. 70 pounds in 6 months. But I plateaued. I got to the point where in 1 week span, I gained like 10 pounds. I was eating the same stuff that I was eating for the last 6 months.
Yeah.
And so on top of that, eating meat 3 times a day, every day for 6 months, I was tired of it. I'm like, just take the. I said, take the bacon away. I was like, I love bacon.
Wow.
I love bacon. I really do. But when I'm eating it every morning, and I'm eating, like chicken breast every, lunch, and having like, a steak, or like I would have like, a double cheeseburger without the bun and stuff like that, and just whatever, just eating a lot of different meals. And I would mix it up as well to have like, more fancier stuff and whatnot. But I decided to go vegetarian, borderline vegan. Like I cut out dairy, and I ate a lot of veggies. I started making my own hummus. I started eating a lot of quinoa. I started discovering that I love like Middle Eastern food, and I loved some Puerto Rican food like plantains. I love plantains.
Plantains.
Yeah.
Aren't those the ones that are kind of like bananas?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're like a banana, but they taste kind of like a sweet potato.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think I have had them before.
Now I just kind of eat healthy. I'll have meat from time to time, but it's not the majority of my diet. I'll have a creamer in my coffee, but I don't. That's pretty much the dairy that I get. And sometimes I just put almond milk, or I'll drink it black still.
Yeah, giving up dairy, I feel like it's like I know I should give up dairy the way I should quit smoking. It's like right there, because just people who give up dairy, they're like, oh, I had this recurring problem. I thought it's just the way life was. Like I thought I'm just supposed to get tons of bumps on my shoulder or something. Like it's like you give up dairy, and it's like, oh, this is like what I've always dreamed of, or something like that.
I would say it was one of the biggest. I gave up dairy from like, or was doing very, very little dairy from like March through May, and it was like some of the best shape I had been in my life. It really like just took care of the last little bit that I
I just can't do it because I love the ice cream so much.
See, I rarely ever have ice cream. It's like maybe once every 6 months, if
Really?
that. I rarely ever have, and I rarely ever have cheese either. I had cheese for lunch today. But normally I don't have cheese on anything I eat anymore either. Though it does taste very good. Though I do have bacon a lot lately as of now.
Yeah.
But no, I gave up. Well, I'm from the Midwest. I want to say pop. I gave up pop.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I still don't drink that crap anymore. High fructose corn syrup and pretty much anything with pre-processed sugars in it. Like I don't have snacks. Just don't eat potato chips. I don't eat like candy bars or anything that's pre-processed or anything like that.
Do you do real sugar, like cane sugar?
If I am going to use real sugar, then yes. But even then, I don't like to add sugar to anything. I'll get sugar from the fruits and vegetables that I eat. I don't want to add any sugars unless it's like my cheat meal, then I will. But otherwise, I'm not going to add sugars at all.
You ever tried that coconut palm sugar?
No.
I think Dr. Oz was peddling it or something. It's supposed to be like a lot better than the regular stuff.
If I want to eat something sweet, I like smoking up and eating some dates. I love dates.
Yeah,
that's my sweet.
kind of
That's my
fruit.
sweet snack. My my indulgence.
Yeah.
Brett makes really good. I don't know. There has to be a word for it, but where you put blue cheese inside the date and then wrap it in bacon and put in the oven.
What was the What was the place at Pork Fest that it was a great like southern barbecue place. It was in Agora Valley, and they had I think there was like a prune or something like that they wrapped around with bacon.
I didn't have that one, but I did have the barbecue.
Okay, they did the same thing where it was like a prune. They like injected it with like a cherry sauce or something like that, and then they wrapped it with bacon, and it was like. It's still to this day like the greatest thing I've ever had in my life as a food, and I can't wait to go. Well, yeah, greatest thing I ever had. I can't wait to. I hope that they're there next year.
My only problem with that is that it's like so sweet and rich that I need a little bit more of like blue cheese or like something to calm it down.
Offset it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of ways to have very delicious food without, eating things that are processed. I'm working on inventing an ice cream substitute.
A substitute to ice cream.
Yes, with all natural, like primal paleo ingredients.
Well, that could sell well.
So, I was saying I can't give up dairy because I'm such an ice cream fiend. And when I say that, it's because like I've been eating ice cream since I was very small. Like I can't remember a time when I wasn't just constantly eating ice cream as a kid. Like I used to be a little heavier, but I feel like I still eat about the same amount of ice. No, there's no way I eat it as much because I remember my mom.
You were eating ice cream more at one point?
Yeah, like I remember my mom
How
buying
much ice cream do you eat?
a half gallon of ice cream like every few days or something like that. Like just like I couldn't stop. I was like a fiend, just like bowl after bowl. Like I couldn't just have one bowl of ice cream. And so, and I used to love to put like the magic shell on there or like chocolate syrup or something. Anything.
Reese's magic shell.
Yeah, I used to love that.
Yeah.
When I was a fatty. Yeah.
So, I'm just saying that for some context about how much I love ice cream. I'm very picky about it.
Would you say you're an ice cream connoisseur?
Probably, but then, like my favorite kind of ice cream is like like some cheapo brand, just like plain chocolate. I don't know why, but just can have like the best texture for some reason. I don't like it when they like try to be fancy with the textures, and it really just tastes more like icy or weird or chunkier.
And I need chunky.
And it can only be chunky if the chunks are chocolate or like some kind of chocolate thing in there.
Yeah.
But Brett made this paleo scream stuff.
Primal scream.
Primal scream. And
nice.
He originally, before this came out, he had experimented with using nuts.
Nut scream.
We called it nut scream. And I remember him going, I remember when he, let me try it. I don't even think we were dating at the time, but you would whip some up.
Yeah.
And we were all trying it.
And I was like, wait till you try this.
Yeah,
and it was all icy and chunky.
Yeah. And it
totally not
icy and chunky, and it was terrible.
The only thing it had in common with ice cream is that I had taken it out of the freezer.
Yeah. But so when he tried this primal scream stuff, I was not excited. Or sorry, did I say it wrong again?
Primal Scream.
Primal Scream. Yeah. I was not excited to try it because I thought it was going to be like Nut Scream again, but it actually is really good.
Yeah.
It's like, it's delicious. It's like thicker, like more creamy than ice cream almost. You know how ice cream kind of melts and just turns into like really sweet milk in your mouth?
Yeah.
This doesn't really do that. It kind of stays in the initial stages of ice cream, that texture the whole time.
It's almost like somebody put a little delicious cake frosting in it or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's kind of like that.
Here's another one for those low carb people who might, because there's a lot of them around here.
Yes.
Now this is not super
See,
healthy.
I'm also very like outside of the norm when I say like I eat a mostly vegetarian diet still. I'll have meat, but it's mostly vegetarian. I know I'm around all these paleo people. They're looking at me like, "What are you doing? Having like all these carbs?" But go ahead.
So say you're hanging out with Allie, right? And she's, just shoveling ice cream in and like, oh, I love ice cream. Look at me eat ice cream. And you say, that gives me a craving, but I'm low carb, so what can I do? So if you do get a Jones for something sweet like that, and maybe you grew up going to Dairy Queen, where they've got and the Magic Shell, right? So we can have all these things.
Are you about to give away your secrets?
I'm going to give away. This is not. I didn't invent. I can't take credit for this, but you can have all of that in a fairly low carb form. There's an ice cream called Breyer's Carb Smart. They've improved it. It is delicious. It's as good as regular Breyer's ice cream. Comes in vanilla. You get that. You buy Baker's chocolate, which is 100% cacao. It has no sugar in it, right? So you can't eat it by itself. You buy a sweetener. The only two that I would recommend are stevia and xylitol. All the other artificial sweeteners, I wouldn't use any of them. You take 2 squares of the Baker's chocolate. You put it in just a microwave-safe cup with either about a tablespoon of coconut oil or a tablespoon of butter. Kerrygold, I would use. In about a minute, it melts. You have to stir it, right? You maybe add 4 or 5 squirts of liquid xylitol, well, to taste as much as you want, or
Doesn't xylitol sound terrible for you?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like food. It doesn't sound.
Xylitol?
Erythritol, xylitol, and stevia. Erythritol, I think, is
it's
okay
like the
too.
fine print of the ingredients in like a soft drink or something like that.
Right, but it's actually it's one of the best natural sweeteners to use. So, and anything that it's because it ends in "all," which just means it's a kind of
I just feel like,
alcohol.
and I'm not saying that you're one of these people saying this, but a lot of health conscious people, which you have that in common with them, are all like, if you can't pronounce this ingredient on the packaging of what you're eating, then you should really double think it. It's like, that would limit me so much. Like I could never really eat anything that's convenient if I always demanded to see every chemical in it, and I have to be able to pronounce and
if I have to pronounce it.
Yeah.
How many times have I been in a restaurant and said, "I'll have the quesadillas," and everyone laughs, and then I can't get it because I said it wrong.
I'm just saying that xylitol, or is that how I say it?
Xylitol, yeah.
It just sounds scary. It sounds like one of those things that these health conscious people would like be like, ew, and put it back.
Well, some of them do. Some paleo people won't eat any sweeteners because they're not purely natural. So big finish with our ice cream story here. Once this melts into a hot chocolatey sauce, you sweeten it and you taste it to make sure it's sweet enough for you. You pour that shit on that ice cream, right? And you put it in the freezer. You come back a minute later, magic shell.
Wow.
Whoa.
That sounds amazing. I'll have to try it.
Now, if you want more variety like I do, take some almond butter and just kind of spoon a little of that in there too.
Butter.
Now, I do this almost every night.
And then you put the coconut flakes on.
Sometimes I'll sprinkle some coconut flakes on there too.
For I want to say pizzazz, but I stuttered.
Yeah, that's just a textural enhancement.
So is this gonna be like recipes that you put on your new show as well? Tell
Yeah, we would talk about this. Kale chips. People should be eating kale chips, I think.
Yeah, I've cooked kale chips before.
Yeah, I've made those before.
Yeah.
I did that for a while when I was doing Atkins.
Yeah.
That's really good. But yeah, you should do that. Do a new show, man. You gotta. I mean, do you still have a passion for School Sucks?
Absolutely, yeah. It ebbs and flows a little bit. Like sometimes it's hard to figure out the next thing to do. I've been doing a lot of video work because I really like that process. It's like it's so much more exciting than audio. I mean, audio. Before I knew how to do, I remember before I knew any of this stuff, I would like write, and I'd be like, I'm a writer. And then as soon as I discovered podcasting, I was like, writing is so stupid. And I understand some people are really good at it, some people really enjoy it, and it's fine. But writing was just so stupid for me because I was better at this other medium. And then when I started like figuring out how to use like, Sony Vegas and do, editing, having a monologue and making it work with video and music, I was like, podcasting is boring to me now. But I mean, I still do the podcast and I still like doing the podcast and I'm happy when, I'm with the finished product of the podcast, but I love video stuff.
I'm trying to teach myself how to use Power Director right now as it is. But I'm still a podcast junkie. Like I still listen to a lot of podcasts. Though I'll be honest, I don't listen to that much Liberty Media anymore.
Good.
I used to listen. I mean, I'm saying this as I make a Liberty-oriented show, but since I moved here, I feel like I'm living the life. So like the Liberty life, whatever you want to call it, So it's like I don't need to listen to Free Talk Live anymore. I don't need to listen to like any, a lot of that for most part, any like Liberty Media that's made here is really more for people out there. Like I view any Liberty-oriented show, podcast, YouTube channel, you name it, that's more so activism to inspire people to come here, or it's just telling, it's just in general, because I don't need to know, I don't need to be reminded and told what it is, because I'm here.
Yeah. I mean, that's not uncommon, because if you ask, I had the same experience. If you ask Mark, I know he said it a bunch of times, like, we really want people to come here, but we do notice that when people come, they stop listening to our show. So are we really working against ourselves? But yeah, that's just, I think, and that's a weird thing, because I remember hearing about this before I moved, that you just don't like, you're not listening to the same shows anymore after you move. That just seems crazy. Like, it seems like you'd want to listen more, but my experience is you feel like almost like, oh, I'd be really doing my friend a favor by listening. But then you have some shows you just can't stop listening to.
What shows do you guys still listen to?
Well, I can't stop listening to, like, I watch Free Domain Radio videos like all the time, and it's become a thing.
You're still on the Molyneux?
No, what's weird is that
cult?
What's weird is that I was never like so into Stephon Molyneux that I would like ever quote him or bring him up in a conversation. So I've never really been like the biggest fan, because there's always been little things that I thought he said that were very strange. But I have been like more of a fan in the past. But now I just listen so that I can like hate him.
What is he gonna do next?
Like, what is he gonna say about women next?
It's a train wreck. Like, from what I've just seen, like I'm waiting for him to go like way into the.
I have this weird thing where like he'll be saying something, I'll be like, yeah, actually, yeah, I think that what he's saying, he's really onto something. But then he takes it and like, to the extent that I agree with him, I appreciate that he's one of the only people that have the balls to like call women out on some bullshit they do. But then he takes it so far that it's like, I could never like I start to feel guilty that I was starting to like believe in what he was saying for a second. I'm like, wow, I can't win with this guy. He just like ruins it at the end.
It's become, and don't get me wrong, I still like Steph, and I actually, for the work that Steph has done since 2005, he definitely has my respect as a fellow podcaster. I still send him money every month. And it's an automatic, I don't like, oh, time to send Stephon Molyneux money. It's automatically taken out of my account. Maybe if I had to write him a check every month, I would forget sometimes. But for the work that he did between 2005 and 2012, that was very influential for me, and he really, clarified a lot of things. So people are really just kind of discovering him since he's been on this, since he's moved into men's rights. I don't want to call it a kick, because I even think there's like, I even think there's a lot of validity to what he's doing with that, but it's getting, to me, like sometimes it feels like a little Alex Jonesy. Like, oh yeah,
well, he is a normal guest now on Alex Jones.
Yeah, but but even Alex Jones said it, because I'll listen to Alex Jones and I'll be like, yeah, Alex, that's a good point. And then he'll just say something and you'll be like, what the fuck, huh? Why would you say that? I was getting ready to share this video with like normal people, like my mother, and then you say this crazy thing, and now I can't share it unless I'm gonna, download it and edit that crazy shit out. So you seem to have kind of a reaction to the Steph thing, both of you guys.
For me, for Stephon, I think everything he's done in regards to like what liberty is
Mhm.
for me, like Story of Your Enslavement was a huge like.
Yeah.
It's
check.
iconic. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
so many people have seen it like that. That's really helped me a lot, and a lot of other stuff. Whenever he's talking about the state, I'm 110% on board.
Mhm.
When he goes into more social issues, like talking about how people who have tattoos are abused, like they're abused people, and then going on against people who like MMA and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
a bunch of other it's like social issues. I think he's going into the weeds, and I really disagree with him. And then he has come across as somewhat cultish, especially in regards to like he freaks out when someone sends him a $2 donation.
Yeah.
And like he should never have released that. I mean, even if I understand why he's saying that, because like he feels like his worth is more than $2 to someone for the amount of time and energy he's putting in doing a show, but you don't scream at your audience about
Oh my God,
like
no.
a donation.
You know how many like people are always out there thinking that every business they go to, it's like they go and spend $6 in a store. I just gave that store $6 of my money. It's like, no, you didn't, dude. Like your stuff cost like $5.99. Or sometimes your stuff cost $6 and the store took a loss on you because they hoped you would buy something that made them money. So like if other people took this kind of mentality about like, shouldn't I be worth it? Then most, businesses are running on a very low profit margin. That's just normal. And like, it's suicide to complain about like individual customers.
especially when he is literally Bitcoin balling. Like his wallet's like huge. I mean,
Yeah, they published it.
You think he'd embrace micropayments?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, he's a very thick libertarian for sure, right? And the reason why I think he's become that, because if you go back and you listen to like, and I'm not saying anyone has to do this, but listen to the first 500 episodes, right? It's non-aggression principle, property rights, and you start to see him dabbling. When he realizes how much he has to say, he starts dabbling into these other areas. He starts talking about the family, he starts talking about childhood. So the guy's done over 3,000 shows. The guy's talked maybe more like into recordings on the internet. Maybe I can't think of anyone who's done it more in the world. Like obviously you're going to broaden. Like there's only so much you can say about Rothbard and Mises and Hayek and Ayn Rand. Even if you want to spread out to like Ayn Rand.
I'm not dissing all of his when he's talking about all of that.
Right.
I'm all on board.
He's like a prude, you think, kind of?
He comes across as if he's the greatest gift to humanity. As if like he is.
I think he thinks that.
I think he thinks that too. And it's not.
I think he'd find it very annoying that we would question that that's true.
Yeah.
Or that we would be complaining that he thinks that. He'd
No,
be like,
don't-
excuse me.
Don't get me wrong. I do think there is like I try to be as confident as I can in my life, no matter what
Sure.
I'm doing.
Yeah.
All right. Now there is a line between there's a line of confidence and arrogance. I like to think I'm walking up to that line as close as possible. He's like 100 miles past that line at this point.
Well, he deserves to be arrogant. I think that the most annoying thing is someone who's confident about what they have to say, but they don't know what the fuck they're saying.
It's very popular, actually.
And,
Yeah.
and like, someone who's arrogant but doesn't have a reason to be. Like they haven't really like done anything that's
It's like
worthy or
compensation.
something.
Yeah.
But it's not really arrogance to me, I guess, if you've like done. So my point is like, I think the way he would describe himself as the gift to humanity is based on the peaceful parenting stuff. And in that way, it's like if what you've done has really like kicked off peaceful parenting and like not hitting your kids and shit like that, then yeah, you are kind of like one of the biggest gifts to humanity.
You're a
But,
gift.
yeah.
You're one of the gifts.
Definitely a gift. But I mean, it's like huge. And it wasn't even obvious to a lot of libertarians who are really good at finding non-obvious stuff that's like lurking behind the scenes and
Step
really
on
causing
Molyneux,
certain
clean water,
things.
electricity.
I mean,
Well, that was a creation of a lot of people.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah,
think
yeah.
a lot of people have sort of come to this conclusion over time. He's not the first person to come up with "don't hit your kids," but to get it out there to the extent that he has, and like have followers who are willing to like preach this shit to mothers who hit their kids in grocery stores, like it's kind of useful.
well, I mean, peaceful parenting. That's another big issue that I definitely agree with him on. But the nail in the coffin for me was when he was using copyright law to take down other YouTubers,
yeah,
like
see,
using the
that's not
arm of the
defendable.
state, literally using the state against another person doing free speech.
And we talked about this on my show. We actually talked about this with Thaddeus Russell, who hates Stefan Molyneux, but defended him on all these things that are not about his philosophy, right? But
He
then
didn't
there's
defend it. He just said he didn't necessarily defend it, but he's like, I don't care about that shit.
right, exactly. Right, well, he defended him against like what he perceived as ad hominem attacks, and there's a valid question, right? Like if Steph preaches one thing but then does another, that's a huge problem. And I've almost like wanted to just like write to them and be like, hey, you know. But I mean, Steph knows marketing. He's smart, right? So he's not saying anything about it for a reason, right? But now there's this lawsuit. So what's going to happen? Is this going to be the downfall of free domain radio? I don't know. But like, if there's more of a story there, like people who kind of support him and, you know, put some faith in him as a, you know, as a person and as a personality, I think there should be some answer for this, and it shouldn't just be like dismissed. Like, oh, you know, some people are just talking about how I, you know, violate or you use copyright laws against people, and they should be focusing on these things. Well, no, this is kind of important, you know.
Well, I mean, like Stefan literally is he's the giant. You know, he what he gets like 1 million downloads or something like that on his podcast. I don't know what
hard
his
to say.
download- It's an insane amount of numbers of listeners that he has. So I mean, he's huge. He's not like you know, a lot of podcasters. They're happy if they can get 10,000 listeners. You know,
Yes.
He has to be a couple 100,000, if not 1 million. Like I don't know what his numbers are, but it has to be really high, right? I mean, I don't know what
He's a lot higher than me. It's like another league. It's like there's him.
He's in a league of his own. I mean, there's
Yeah.
no one else even next to him.
As far as like libertarian content.
Libertarian. The
yeah.
only one probably close is maybe Joe Rogan, but even then, like he's not libertarian. I mean, he says he's libertarian, but like,
He's not.
He doesn't count.
but I mean, that's probably the only person even that has close numbers to what he does.
And I would think Rogan gets more per episode than Steph.
probably does, but I mean, Stefan is a philosophy show, and his numbers are huge, though. You know, Joe Rogan obviously isn't a philosophy show.
Yeah. So you're right. So I mean, Steph is up here, and then there's a bunch of us like, you know, Free Talk Live and my show, and I don't even know what else would it be.
Rebel Love Show.
Do you guys consider yourself a libertarian show?
Yeah, I consider it a liberty-oriented.
Liberty-oriented show.
I mean, it's in the liberty community. All of our guests are liberty people, but
Yeah.
it's not a philosophy show per se. I mean, it's not like an educational show or anything like that. It's more of a think of it as I don't even know what to be honest. I used to pitch it as like the Joe Rogan Experience meets the Free State Project. Now I don't even really do that anymore. It's more so just trying to highlight what people are like here.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like the goal of it for right now. I have in mind how I want the show to evolve later on, but that's kind of like the stage. This is season 1, so to speak. So
Nice.
That's what we're at right now.
I think we're the first show that's really showing the culture of Manchester, and like talking about what's going on here. I mean,
Sure.
that we do that every show. We talk about actually like what's going on in this city. And before I moved to New Hampshire, I had no idea what was happening in Manchester. You know, I just listened to all the audio out of Keene, and that was it.
Yeah, so it's giving a different perspective of what the FSP is like from another city, besides media out of Keene. Again, very niche. I understand that. It's a very niche thing.
But it's good.
I'm trying to be good.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if it is or not.
Well,
in my mind, it's
I think
not.
this show's pretty good.
I
right
think this
now.
show is good, but I also
think-
think niche is good to have a
Yeah.
niche.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely no one doing something similar to this at the moment. The only thing that's even close to this that is in New Hampshire would be Black Sheep Rising, but Conan has his own style. Like we have a
Yeah.
completely different style than
That's
what
totally
he has.
different, yeah.
Yeah, but that's the only thing even closely in the same genre
I see. Yeah.
as what we do.
Well, yeah, the fact that it's like showing personalities in Manchester, because that is kind of what Manchester is missing, is that, and I mean, I don't know if you guys know this, but of course you do, because you listen to Free Talk Live, but they always like Ian likes to like jab Manchester for
Yeah,
not
yeah.
doing this kind of thing. You know, like,
Oh.
I guess they're doing stuff in Manchester, we'll never know. So, I think it's a good thing.
Yeah. No, he's I know he likes what we do. I don't know, hopefully he does. I don't know, but
Don't wait for his approval.
Oh, I don't. Well, he gave me blog access to Free Keen, so I put every episode up
wow.
on Free Keen.
That's
so.
an honor.
Yeah, I know. It was an honor. He approached me at Area 23 during Liberty Forum before I even brought the show because I was originally doing it as a webcast before I moved here. Then I put on hiatus for like months before I got back here. But like he approached me to blog for it before I even got this apartment. So and then as soon as I started to show up, I'm like, oh, I have access to the site that gets a hell of a lot of hits.
That's great.
Yeah.
I want to throw my show up on there.
Yeah.
He has not said a word to me to stop me. So
That's great. That's awesome.
yeah. So that was definitely an honor when he approached me.
Yeah,
for
I'm,
sure.
I'm getting set up on Free Keen too. He
Really?
he wants
I
me
did
to
not
put
know
up.
that.
You didn't know? Okay, he wants me to put on the new show. It's Like This Too that I'm doing with Cecilia. We're putting that out on the Free State Project YouTube account, but he wants it on Free Keen as well.
Nice.
And I might, dabble and blog a little bit. I don't know.
Ian, you just need to put us on LRN.
Yeah.
Because you said you would. I'm going to hold you to that.
How long you been doing the show?
We have been doing this show regularly since the beginning of April.
Yeah, it took us all. Yeah, then you should ask. He wants.
Oh no, he's already approached us. He has the RSS feed.
Ah.
He's just waiting to update
It's in
the
his
site.
back pocket.
Yeah, he has it. I'm just waiting for him to check the site and it's in the podcast loop. That's all I'm waiting for at the moment. Yeah, so
Exciting stuff.
it is exciting. I'm just waiting for that to actually happen. I don't know. We'll see when that happens. But at any rate, we're going way over when we normally record. So.
Oh really?
Yeah, we only usually do an hour, so we're already like an hour and 15 minutes as it is.
Oh,
So
okay.
we usually only do an hour, unless you want to keep going.
Do you want to do like another
bonus content?
15, 20?
Sure.
Yeah, I would do that.
What would you like
Did
to
they
talk
want
about?
to?
Yeah. Wait, do you guys want?
I'm down.
I'm
sure.
down. Go
Yeah.
ahead. What's on your mind? What do you want to bring up?
Oh, I don't know. I like more reacting to things than initially. This is what I like
Okay.
about being on other people's shows.
I was kind of wanting this to come up. Why were we talking about it? Oh gosh, it related to something we were talking about. Okay, I'll just be out. Oh, we were talking about Stefan Molyneux. Wow, that guy has some great things to say. I have some good memories of being enlightened by things that he said, and now there's these accusations and proof that he used the state, which he's supposedly all against, in order to, bring someone down who was acting voluntarily and not using any violence whatsoever. So, does that mean that it's okay that we still appreciate him for the other things? Related to Bill Cosby,
Whoa.
turns out to be a serial rapist. Does that mean I can't wear fancy sweaters
Too soon.
anymore?
Whoa.
Or they're not called
Oh, is it off
Cosby
the table?
sweaters.
We're not supposed
No,
to
no,
talk about
that's not.
Cosby's off the table.
No, Bill Cosby's always on.
I just learned about this 30 minutes before the show about Cosby. I was like, what the hell is this? We read all about it.
Well, do tell, because all I know is that he's accused of rape. So
Well, I don't.
know
I guess we
everything
don't
that's going
necessarily know it's true, but I'm starting to think. I'm just getting I don't want to be one of those people who's like, no, those. You know how people just make claims, and then it turns out to be real. I'd rather be in a position where I assume it's real, and then if it turns out not to be real, then I'm relieved. But let's just assume for a second that it's possible that Bill Cosby is like a serial rapist, drugs women, has for how many years?
Since the 60s.
Really?
That's gonna ruin Jello pudding for me.
Jello
And-
pudding,
Every
Yeah.
time
Fat
I eat
Albert.
I'm gonna think of serial rape.
Theo Huxtable, all
He's
down
from
in
the
flames.
Huxtables. I love him.
Now, isn't it still okay for us to be fans?
I haven't watched the Cosby Show since I was a kid. I haven't seen any of his stand-up since I was
They were
10.
about to
12.
launch a new sitcom where he was like the patriarch of some multi-generational family. Netflix.
Really?
I think it was a Netflix original series. They pulled it. He had he was going to do comedy stand-up specials on Netflix. I mean, he's 77. And then there was going to be a network show, like a new Bill Cosby show, and they shelved it because of this. And there's no criminal proceedings. I think probably the statute of limitations is beyond. The most recent accusation was mid 80s. It made me think, I'm nowhere near anything that Bill Cosby ever did, but if my show blows up and I'm supposed to be this, you know, I don't want to call myself like a moral philosopher or anything, but like somebody who's trying to be taken seriously, and these things start to surface. Like, I went out on a date with him in 1996 and he was very mean to me. You know, he was not a very nice guy.
Is that the worst thing we're going to find out about you?
Worst thing you'd find out about me. I thought of the worst thing that I can think of that I ever did.
Just out yourself now and you'll be absolved.
Yeah.
You're on the Rebel Love Show.
I broke a door once. You look horrified. Are you?
No.
It was probably 1996, and I was at a party, and let's see, it was around then, 96, 97. I was like a sophomore in college. And this girl, I was really drunk. Like it was in the middle of like a big, bender at school. It might have been around Christmas. So it was freezing cold. It was winter. I can't believe I'm telling this story, but now I feel like it has a momentum that I can't stop it. So this girl that I was kind of involved with, she's like, I want you to come back to my house tonight. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure, let's do that.
I like how Brett can't say having sex with you. His euphemism
Kind of
is involved with.
Kind of involved with.
Kind of
No, I don't think we had ever had. I think maybe that was part of the excitement. Like we were
yeah.
kind of like starting to, like examine the
You guys weren't
possibilities.
really all the way involved yet.
No, we were examining the possibilities of fucking.
Did you examine it?
So anyway, she comes up to me at this party and I'm wasted, and she says, I want you to come back to my house tonight. I'm like, yeah. So I called a cab to take me to her house, right? But she meant like after the party, but I had no concept of time. So she says this to me at apparently like, I don't know, 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock. She's thinking like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So I get in a cab. This is in Vermont. I'm very, not appropriately dressed for the elements there. And I get to her house and I'm locked out, right? And she lives in a building almost exactly like this, right? Where if you get in the door, then it's just like, kind of a door that gets you into the apartment. Now, I introduced this story as saying I broke a door. This was the worst thing that I ever did. So I get there and I'm like, oh, I'm locked out. But then I thought about the dorms at the college where I lived, and we could just kind of like elbow them and they would pop open. And I was like, she won't mind if I just pop in, and wait for her. But I'm almost like blackout drunk. Like I barely remember any of this. So I do it, right? And I give the door a little push, right? And it opens. I'm like, great. So I go in and I sit on the couch for, I don't know, and I'm probably in and out of consciousness for probably hours. And at some point I say, I'm hungry. I'd like some food. So I went and I started cooking myself like food. And then I was drinking. So like I had helped myself to like a bottle of liquor. And I'm thinking this will be great. She'll be home soon. She'll be so happy to see me. So eventually she comes home, and there I am with food on my face and a bottle of liquor. And I hadn't noticed this, but the door, when I had popped it open, the reason why it opened so nice and easy was that the door frame had broken apart all over the floor in her living room. So this is what she walked into. That's the worst thing I can think of that I was ever involved in. Oh no, look at your look. Are you? I was so young.
I've heard you've told me the story like 3 times.
Okay. That's good. I was just a boy.
I was in fascination by the way you told the story, and you're like, and so I popped the door and it opened. And I'm like, no, it didn't. It fucking broke. But I understand for the purpose of the story.
Yeah, Drunk Brett is like, I just popped it open.
That was my name in college.
Drunk Brett.
Yeah.
Drunk Brett.
Because of stories like that.
Wow.
What other drunk stories do you have?
Wow. Doesn't that open a
You're the one that wants to stay on the show.
barrel of snakes? Let's see. Oh gosh, I feel like there's I don't know. It's one time I was I accidentally I feel like all these stories involve college and girls and drinking way too much.
It sounds like college.
I feel like now we should all tell a drunk story.
Yeah,
like,
I was trying to think of my best one.
Yeah.
Oh, don't ask me first. I don't know. I got a few, but
Oh man,
I'm trying to think of a good one.
That's a tough one because I have a bunch of them too. definitely. Like, yeah, I one time I was drunk and on the phone with my best friend, and I was like, hey man, I'm looking for my car. Like, I'm not gonna drive it. I'm just gonna lay in the back for a while and like chill out. And I'm like, where am I? And so I'm talking to him. He's like, wait, what? Where are you? I'm like, yeah, I'm somewhere in Long Beach right now, and I have no idea. And I'm just talking to him, like, and I'm like, la di da. And luckily, a friend of mine is going to the party that I just left, and he's walking across the street, towards me, and so he picked me up, and I ended up going back to the party. But that's a pretty good one. Just getting completely lost, talking, on the phone with my best friend and freaking him out. That's a pretty good one.
What about you, Allie? Do you have any drunk stories?
I remember in high school getting really drunk with my friends, just like drinking amounts that like I can't imagine. I just like today, I just think I just can't imagine myself ever drinking that much ever again in my life and it being appropriate. But I just remember, you guys remember those MD-20 drinks, MD 2020s,
Yeah.
Mad Dog.
Dogs?
Yeah.
We used to get those. I don't know why we went for those, but we would get them, and every girl would like have her own. And like I remember finishing mine off, my friend being like, "Ew, it's gross," after like a couple sips, and me finishing hers off. And I was also a speed drinker, like I was a show off about it too. So it was just awful. So after one of these nights, sometimes it would work out well for me, but most of the time not. I remember we binge drank the night before senior year orientation. Like, when it's like you go in the first day and you're not going to class, you're just like learning about who you're going to have. You like go and sit in each classroom with who your classmates are going to be. I went to that and I was like, I think now I'm starting to experience hangovers, but back then it wasn't like you wake up and you're detoxifying and your head hurts. This was like, I was still drunk, like felt exactly the same as when I went to bed. So I went to see senior orientation totally wasted, and tried to play it off. Like I was like, I'm ready. And like, I tried to act like nothing was wrong. And I was just like, fuck this year. I don't even care. I don't know why I didn't just drop out at that point, but I was like, a year's not that long. How many months do you stay in school? Like 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, it'll be fine. I'll just not give a shit this last year. And it was like one of the worst years. Like senior year is the worst.
I remember my
Now, there's a lot of pressure on you, okay, because these stories have no innocent bystanders. They have no property damage, right? So, what do you got?
I don't have one with property damage. I remember the first time that I really got drunk at a party where like I didn't know my limit. I remember I passed out and somehow ended up on the other side of the I think I was in the kitchen. Yeah, I was in the kitchen clenching a pillow that I had vomited on for some reason. This is like when I was 20 or something like that. I didn't hold my liquor. And then like 6 or 7 years ago. 7 years ago. I went to a conference for work in Vegas, and me and my roommate at the time, my coworker, it was our first time in Vegas, so we're like, we gotta go hit the strip, and because in Vegas you can walk around with a drink, like everyone's walking around with drinks and stuff like that, and somehow we ran into and then like a couple other coworkers joined, and all four of us, we were just wasted, and somehow we're on the opposite side of the strip. And I remember getting kicked out of another hotel because we were like hugely just not screaming, but like basically being hugely rude at a blackjack table, and like being like us like pulled by our arms by like security,
Oh, no.
being pulled out of a I forgot the name of the hotel. It wasn't Mandalay Bay because that's where I was staying at. It was because that's at the end of the strip. I forgot which one it was, and somehow I don't remember making it back to my hotel room, but somehow I made it back. And then
Somehow,
I
I
don't
can relate
remember.
to
I
that
honestly,
feeling,
it's a
like-
blackout. I remember being
Somehow.
removed from the blackjack table, and
then I don't remember. I remember waking up drunk and going to the conference drunk still because I was still drunk, and it was that was only with like a couple hours sleep probably. So I remember it being like probably 3 or 4 in the morning. Yeah.
The worst thing about alcohol is how it makes you feel so like important to everyone else.
Oh yeah, you feel like you're the top of the world, and you are the center of attention. You are like you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Like you're gonna when you get really drunk, like in a bar, like in some kind of contained atmosphere, and then like you unleash yourself onto like whatever the next plans are. You're like just opening. You're just like an open vessel. Like whatever comes at you, you're like it's like that thing where you're overly confident, but you don't have anything to be confident about. So you just think you can handle all these situations and you fail, but you don't have the inhibitions to realize that you're fucking up. So you continue that stuff until you wake
You're
up
just the
on your
most important
vomit
person.
pillow.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
I remember like one night just screaming in a bar. They actually know it was a blackout. People told me about it, and I was going, "You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome for peaceful parenting. You're welcome. You're welcome that I came to this planet."
Wow.
That's not true. That's not a true story. That's a callback to an earlier story. If anyone's just joining us. But yeah, I feel like, by my current system of values, as I'm kind of thinking about all these things that happened in college are coming back to me, like they're all like so shameful and embarrassing. Like they all involve destroying something or...
Have you had some good drunk experiences though?
Oh,
Like,
breakdancing.
yeah.
There's
Yeah.
like a little window where I'm like really like most likable.
The
Back
magic hour
back
lasts
in
about
the-
an hour.
Back in the day, I would say 7 years ago. You guys remember when Rock Band came out?
Mhm.
Oh my God! Me and my friends, we used to have like these huge Rock Band parties where like 20 people come in the house,
Wow.
and we would we'd have like instead of like dance offs, it'd be a rock band off, and like it'd be different crews, different bands that would it'd be a battle of the bands type of thing, and everyone would be drunk, and we were celebrating I forgot what we were celebrating, but there was decorations up and stuff like that. I forgot what it was even for, to be perfectly honest. And I actually like to sing, so like I was like the singer, and I had a full band and everything like that. And sometimes we were hardcore. We had mic stands and stuff like that. So, I remember like singing and playing guitar, and me and my bassist at the time, like we were really into it. We were really drunk, so we were like dancing around like while we're playing, like having stage presence. Because rock band, you gotta have stage presence. You just can't like be there just like strumming the guitar and doing nothing. You gotta like be the rock star, because that's the whole point. You get drunk and act as if like you're a rock star, and I remember at the end of the night, like that house was completely totaled because we act as if like we were rock stars like the whole time. Like there was beer bottles everywhere, chairs turned over, and stuff destroyed and whatnot. Like there was a guitar that was shattered because one of us just like shattered the guitar on the ground, and which was my guitar, unfortunately.
Oh.
But it was an awesome night. But I used to love Rock Band. That was like my karaoke for like 2 years straight.
Do you guys ever get those great drunk ideas? Like when you're drunk and you just get an amazing idea and you have to write it down for sober you for the next day?
Yeah.
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 And then a lot of the time you can't understand your notes.
I've been there.
Most of my drinking was done before I would say I was really had that kind of creative impulse. Like when you said that, like were you ever drunk and you got an idea? Yeah, I remember like one time me and my friend, his name was Kevorkian. I don't know why we called him that, but that was his name in college, and neither of us had ever been in a fight before. So we said we should fight maybe to see what it's like. And we didn't know, like we both just I think punched each other as hard as we could, and we both hurt each other pretty significantly, bled, and this was all captured on one of these VHS camcorders that I mentioned earlier, because someone, so it was interesting, like somebody was walking around this party. It was like a party during the day, during this like Christmas, like we'd hang out at college, like after classes ended, before we went home for like Christmas break, so there'd be like 4 days of nothing with just like the most harsh partying environment. And it was like the morning after the night of a huge party, and we're having another party, and I lived in this house, and we didn't have furniture, like only one room. There was no, the only rooms that were furnished were our bedrooms, and then like the rest of the house was just empty. and we heated it with people, so there's like 60 people in there, and somebody's walking around this VHS camcorder, and then all of a sudden it just kind of pans over to me and this guy, and we're in the corner, kind of acting very strange, and it kind of like the person comes up and just starts capturing this interaction. Like, have you ever been in a fight? No, I haven't either. You want to see what it's like to punch each other? And then the camera person, like a real journalist, followed us outside. They were learning something about what we were, communications, mass media. They followed outside. They framed it up beautifully, and they captured us punching each other.
Do you have this
and where is
video?
this on YouTube?
Yeah.
It's not. It was on VHS. See, that's the problem with VHS is like most of that stuff, if you didn't have the foresight to protect it, all the tapes, and I'm guessing there's probably an hour of footage that existed at one time of me doing really stupid things. But at this point, I'm guessing that even if you had a VHS, that those tapes have deteriorated. So
Your story was so titillating that when the cat jumped on my lap, it like actually scared me. That's how I went, oh my gosh. In case anyone's listening, like, why did she just freak out?
But yeah, my drinking days are far behind me because I gave that up to like get in shape and lose weight. I like to smoke and I do like to drink from time to time in a social atmosphere. But like I used to be a heavy drinker and I no longer do that. It's like a past life,
Yeah.
It's not part of who I am anymore.
I feel the same way.
yeah, I can't even believe that. Like the memories that I have, I can't even believe that it was me. What's that movie where you have somebody else's memories? Total Recall.
I
No?
feel like
Mm.
that
I
a
don't
lot. I mean, like for me, like I went through a transition, like my mind and body, and then I moved here, and it's like this was a reset on my life, just living a different life.
Wait until you get super drunk and embarrass yourself. Then it'll be just like the old days.
Well, here
Just
I've
kidding.
done that a couple times here.
Oh, have
Unfortunately,
you?
I
Me
was
too.
I was intoxicated for much of Pork Fest and did some stupid stuff when I was there. Yes, I
Why do I always insist on drinking at Pork Fest? It's like the worst time. Everyone's got a camera and everyone gives a shit. So
at the Satoshi Saloon, like Shema Carlos, oh, don't worry, you drink for free. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, just go ahead. Just go ahead and whenever you want to come in. And I'm like, all right, and I like 2 nights in a row, like that's all I did. Like this is like that was my pit stop. I used to this was my first Pork Fest because before I came here, I never set foot in this state before I moved. So I'd never been to Liberty Forum, never went to Pork Fest, I never came and visited to see how I might like it, And when I went to Pork Fest, all I did was I called it walking the beat. I just kept going tent to tent because I know so many people. And I just kept walking around for like literally the entire week. But that location was like my home base, my pit stop. So I'd always come get a drink, and then like stay there for like an hour, drink.
We'd
up
always
a little
like
bit.
find each other there too, like the gang.
Oh yeah, that was the
If
meeting
you-
spot.
Yeah.
You meet up and then you pick someone else to go with, and then you somehow make your rounds.
Talk
and come
strategy on like what to do at Pork Fest.
Yeah. I hope they do that again. By the way, I hope they said that.
Yeah, I'm gonna get him hooked up with Dogecoin as well for you listeners who use Dogecoin.
I'm not. Well, they don't sell anything there, so they can take Dogecoin as a donation, but they weren't selling anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can try and get them to set it up.
I'll do
care,
it.
though. Yeah.
What do you mean they weren't selling anything?
They were. You had to be there at the right time to actually eat, and they kind of. Well, no, I guess they did sell drinks, sort of.
a lot of people at Pork Fest aren't selling anything. I mean, you can go there and like receive gifts, and sometimes you like give people money because that's fun at Pork Fest.
You're talking
But
about Carla, right?
there are a lot of people who
Yeah, Carl Moore.
have things to offer, and they accept donations.
Yeah, they're not doing like a formal storefront
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah.
They're not doing any kind
It was
of
a
like legal
donation-based
transaction.
Yeah, she did the nicest thing, and she didn't. She took donations for my
Yes.
show,
Yes, she did.
and that was so nice. And then it was presented to me at the, and I couldn't even
that's
believe
how she
it.
sold liquor. That's right. She was selling liquor as donations to School Sucks.
That was like the sweetest thing. It was so nice. It was like one of the most touching things.
It's pretty cool.
I like
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, no, she's definitely incredible. Yeah. But at any rate, we're coming up on 2, so let's.
Sure.
Let's cut out. Is there anything you guys wanna plug while you're here?
Schoolsucksproject.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. School Sucks Podcast is our username.
and you should go to the AV Club.
Oh yeah, if you love the
Project.
show, consider supporting it.
And I'm working on alleyhavens.com. The site's under construction, but I'm planning to use that as like sort of like a portfolio page, I think, where I can link to different stuff I've done. It's just the idea, you know, like
What are you gonna do now?
I don't know. That's sort of like kind of what I want. That's just like my idea, like a landing page for anything I've been on before. Like I would put this on, you know, when it comes out. But I don't know how to collect all these things, you know? Like it's just because like every time I was on Free Talk Live, am I going to post every episode, like go through and find every episode or find the best ones? But anyway, I'm working on that right now, and I'm thinking about things I could do next. I like the idea of doing video editing. I think that would be fun.
Go for it. There's a lot of video that you can edit. So
Yeah, I know there's a lot of
there's more
unedited
video to edit than you can.
Then
even
there's
think of.
editors. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, also maybe producing videos would be fun.
Yeah. And yeah, of course, you can find all my content at shiredude.com. If you watch the videos at shiredude.com, you will have 15-minute long orgasms.
Well, first off, before the 15-minute orgasms, have you guys seen Shire Dude yet?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we're fans.
I forgot to say how much I loved it. I wanted to open
thank
the
you.
show by saying Carlos got us into it, and we watched like
You had like a marathon, right?
yeah, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I think you showed it. Did you show it to me?
And Carlos showed it. We were all watching it together.
Carlos showed it to us, yeah, and
Yeah, he's a fan.
we were into it. Yeah, we were.
He's a great actor in Shire Dude videos. He's in a few of them.
The
Well-
Doge Fest one was really good.
Yes, yeah. Let me know if you ever need,
I'm doing
Acting.
something like that for Liberty Forum. I'll talk to you guys about that after the show. It's very hush hush.
It's the editing and the timing that like tells a separate story that you couldn't put into words. It's really
yeah.
funny.
Yes, so definitely go check out Shire Dude and go sum some Dogecoin. And you can find my content at therebel.com. And the show archives for this show is at rebelloveshow.com. We're also go like us on Stitcher, and subscribe to us in iTunes, and watch this on YouTube. Maybe subscribe to us there. And we are out, guys. So peace.
Peace.